They say family is complicated. I thought mine was normal, until the day my stepmom Vanessa made a bet I couldn't refuse. Or maybe couldn't win. My name is Ryan, 19, a college student who thought he had life figured out. I had my routines, my friends, and my own little secrets, but nothing prepared me for her. Vanessa, my stepmom, had always been a force of nature. Glamorous, cunning, and impossibly confident, she had a way of bending situations to her will. But that evening, she went beyond anything I had imagined. "You think you're untouchable, confident, clever," she said, swirling her glass of wine, eyes glinting with mischief. "I bet I could take you, and turn you into someone else entirely. Someone you'd never imagine being." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "What do you mean?" She leaned forward, voice soft but commanding. "A bet. If I win, you'll follow my instructions for a week, no complaints. And your first challenge is to become me, or at least my daughter. Someone graceful, delicate, perfect." I froze. Becoming her? Her daughter? The thought should have terrified me. It should have made me refuse outright. But I couldn't. Pride, curiosity, and a strange thrill made me nod. "Fine. I accept your bet," I said, even as my heart began to pound. Vanessa's smirk widened. "Good. Let's see how well you can handle it." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining what she had in store. Clothes? Makeup? Acting? I had dabbled in crossdressing before, secretly in my room, but this was different. This wasn't private. This wasn't safe. This was Vanessa's challenge, and failing wasn't an option. The next morning, I woke to a neatly organized array of clothes, accessories, and a makeup kit laid out on my bed. Every piece screamed her style: soft pastels, silky fabrics, delicate patterns. I picked up a dress, feeling the unfamiliar weight of it in my hands. My heart raced as I imagined putting it on, stepping into a version of myself I barely recognized. Vanessa appeared, perfectly poised, a teasing smile on her lips. "First step," she said. "Dress. Makeup. Hair. And remember, confidence." I swallowed hard. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional. I could feel my heartbeat quicken, my nerves buzzing with fear and anticipation. Every brushstroke of makeup, every curve the dress hugged, made me realize how fragile, and how exhilarating, this experiment could be. I glanced at the mirror. The reflection staring back wasn't entirely Ryan. It was softer, delicate, vulnerable, but also alluring. I could feel Vanessa's presence in the process, guiding me, controlling me. The bet wasn't just about clothes. It was about identity, power, and submission. And in that moment, I knew one thing for certain. This week would change me in ways I couldn't even begin to imagine. The next morning, Vanessa was waiting like a general on inspection day. Her smile was calm, but her eyes sparkled with mischief. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just a game. This was a challenge to my very sense of self. "First things first," she said, pulling out a pastel pink dress, silky and soft. It looked harmless, almost delicate, but the weight of it in my hands made me nervous. I had never thought of myself in these clothes before. The idea made me shiver with both excitement and shame. "You'll wear this," she instructed, placing the dress gently on the bed. "And after that, makeup, hair, accessories. Everything must be perfect. Remember, I'm watching." I nodded, heart hammering, unsure if I was ready. Alone in my room, I took a deep breath. I stared at the dress again. The fabric slipped through my fingers like water, soft against my skin. Slowly, I lifted it over my head. The silky material hugged my shoulders, slid down my torso, and clung to my body in a way that made me gasp. I looked at myself in the mirror for the first time that morning. The reflection was unfamiliar. Softer, more delicate, my shoulders narrower, my chest altered, my curves more pronounced. A strange heat crept through me as I touched my new form, tracing the outline of the dress. I felt powerful, vulnerable, exposed. And I hated that feeling as much as I loved it. Then came the makeup. Vanessa guided me through each step, correcting my brushstrokes, applying foundation, blush, lipstick. My hands shook, my pulse raced, and every time I looked at the mirror, I saw less of Ryan and more of the fragile, beautiful persona Vanessa wanted me to embody. "This is about confidence," she said softly, leaning close. "You need to feel this version of yourself." I nodded, trying to steady my voice, but all I could manage was a trembling whisper. I think I can do this." Vanessa's smile widened. "Good. Now hair." The wig she handed me was long, silky, and impossibly perfect. I struggled to pull it over my head, my fingers fumbling with the pins and adjustments. Once it was in place, I barely recognized myself. The reflection staring back from the mirror was a stranger, delicate, doll-like, perfect. And yet, there was a thrill in that reflection, a strange exhilaration that made my heartbeat spike. I took a tentative step, balancing awkwardly in the heels Vanessa had provided. Every movement felt unnatural, every sound of the shoes against the floor amplified my anxiety. But there was also a strange joy in the sway of my hips, the way the dress moved with me, the soft pressure of the wig against my scalp. Vanessa watched silently, her eyes assessing every motion. "Not bad," she said finally. "But there's still more. Attitude. Presence. You have to own this version of yourself completely." I swallowed hard. Attitude? Presence? How could I act confident when I felt like I was teetering on the edge of embarrassment, shame, and desire? Every glance in the mirror reminded me of my fragility. Every sway of my hips reminded me how vulnerable I was. And yet, I couldn't deny the thrill coursing through me. Hours passed. Vanessa corrected, adjusted, and guided me through every detail, until finally she stepped back and studied me quietly. "You're ready," she said, her tone unreadable. "But remember, this is only the beginning. Confidence is the difference between a bet and total surrender." I didn't know what she meant, but I could feel the truth of it in my bones. I had become someone else. Someone beautiful, delicate, and intoxicating. Someone fragile yet impossible to ignore. And I was terrified that I liked it. The first test came immediately. Vanessa called a family friend to stop by unexpectedly. Panic surged through me. Could I hide my trembling hands, the unfamiliar sway of my hips, the delicate voice I had barely controlled? Could I pretend to be this person, this version of myself? When the doorbell rang, I froze. Vanessa smirked. "Go on," she whispered. "Show them who you are." Every step toward the door felt like walking a tightrope. My reflection in the hallway mirror showed me, fully transformed, heart racing, eyes wide, body trembling with both fear and excitement. My mind screamed at me to run, to change back, to hide, but my body refused to obey. I opened the door. The visitor smiled, unaware of the transformation. I forced a calm, delicate smile. My voice was soft, higher pitched than usual, trembling slightly. Every movement felt rehearsed, calculated, and terrifying. And yet, they didn't notice. No one noticed. I was invisible, except for the glamour I radiated unwillingly. Vanessa's eyes sparkled with triumph behind me. "See? Not so hard," she whispered. "But this is only day one. The real challenge is keeping control. Keeping yourself from getting lost in it." I nodded, unsure whether she meant control over my body, my identity, or my sanity. Later that night, I sat alone in my room, staring at my reflection. The dress was still on, the wig slightly messy, makeup slightly smudged. I touched my face, feeling the contours, the softness, the unfamiliar curves. I didn't recognize myself, and yet, I couldn't stop looking. The thrill, the fear, the shame, the beauty. It all swirled together in a dizzying storm. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. Vanessa's bet had done more than change my clothes. It had awakened something inside me, something I didn't know existed, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it to go away. And as I lay in bed that night, fragile, trembling, and utterly transformed, I realized, this was just the beginning. The next few days were a whirlwind. Vanessa's bet wasn't just about wearing clothes or applying makeup, it was about becoming her daughter completely. Every morning, she'd bring new outfits, wigs, and accessories, each more elaborate than the last. She'd critique every movement, every gesture, every word I spoke, forcing me to embody someone I barely recognized. At first, it was humiliating. I stumbled in heels, tripped over skirts, and my voice betrayed me when I tried to sound delicate and poised. Vanessa's eyes sparkled with amusement each time I faltered. Confidence, she'd whisper, like a mantra I couldn't quite grasp. But slowly, something changed. I began to notice the subtle thrill in this transformation. There was power in being watched, in being judged, in balancing on the razor edge of embarrassment and allure. I caught myself glancing in mirrors even when Vanessa wasn't looking, adjusting my wig, smoothing my dress, studying my delicate reflection. One afternoon, Vanessa decided to take things further. "You're going to the store," she said, her tone firm but teasing. "Fully dressed. No excuses. Let's see if you can handle the world outside these walls." My stomach dropped. Public exposure was a level I hadn't reached yet. What if someone recognized me? What if I stumbled, my voice cracking under fear, revealing that I wasn't the polished, graceful version Vanessa demanded? By the time I stepped outside, the city air felt electric. Every glance from passers-by felt like a spotlight. My heels clicked nervously on the pavement. My dress swayed with each step, and I could feel the perfume Vanessa had insisted I wear curling around me like a subtle announcement. I caught my reflection in a shop window and froze. It wasn't Ryan I saw. It was someone delicate, fragile, impossibly beautiful, a perfect image of what Vanessa had created. My pulse raced, a heady mix of fear, thrill, and shame. At the checkout line, I stumbled over my words, voice soft, trembling. The cashier smiled politely, unaware of the chaos inside me. Vanessa's whisper echoed in my mind, "Confidence. Own it." By the time we returned home, I was exhausted, mentally, physically, and emotionally. But I was also strangely exhilarated. I realized I was addicted to the adrenaline, the fear, and the forbidden thrill of being someone else. That night, alone in my room, I touched my reflection in the mirror, tracing the curves of the dress, the smoothness of the wig, the gloss of the lipstick. I felt like a stranger. Yet, a part of me longed to stay like this forever. And then Vanessa appeared at my doorway, leaning casually, eyes gleaming. "Impressive," she said. "But don't get comfortable. The real test is coming. And it's not just about how you look. It's about how far you're willing to go." My heart skipped a beat. What could she possibly mean? And yet, I knew one thing for certain: the bet wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It started innocently enough. Vanessa announced she had invited some family friends over for a casual evening. "A perfect chance to see how well you've learned to be her," she said, smirking. My heart froze. Public exposure, a gathering of strangers, and me fully transformed? My palms were clammy just thinking about it. I tried to protest, but she silenced me with a look that said, "No excuses." The hours leading up to their arrival were torture. Vanessa dressed me herself, applying every detail perfectly. The wig framed my face flawlessly, the dress hugged my curves, the heels made me teeter and sway delicately. I caught my reflection and barely recognized the person staring back. Every movement felt unnatural, every breath measured. And yet, beneath the fear, a strange exhilaration coursed through me. The doorbell rang. My pulse thundered in my ears. Vanessa gave me a reassuring, teasing glance. "Remember confidence," she whispered. I opened the door to greet the guests, my voice soft, trembling, yet controlled. I forced a delicate smile. My posture was rigid but elegant, my hands clasped in front of me. No one seemed to notice anything unusual. But then, one of my college friends stepped forward. Their eyes widened slightly, scanning me from head to toe. My heart froze. Could they tell? Could they see through the delicate disguise, the subtle feminine voice? Vanessa's eyes sparkled with amusement behind me. "Relax," she whispered. "They won't notice if you own it." I tried. I laughed politely, nodded, and answered questions. Every fiber of my being screamed to run, to hide, to change back. But the doll-like persona I had been sculpted into now felt strangely natural. I realized with a shock that a part of me enjoyed the attention, the admiration, the thrill of being admired as someone I wasn't. The evening progressed. I moved gracefully among the guests, every step, every word, every gesture calculated and careful. But the tension never left me. Every glance felt like a potential disaster. Every smile could reveal the secret I had fought to contain. And then, the unthinkable happened. A guest leaned closer, squinting at my delicate features. "You look different," they said. "Something about you is familiar." My pulse spiked. My lips parted, but no words came. Vanessa appeared at my side, smiling, gracefully diverting attention. "Just a new style," she said smoothly. "She's experimenting." Relief flooded me, but it was fleeting. The adrenaline kept pumping. I realized this was more than a test of appearance. It was a test of identity, courage, and control. Could I maintain this persona under pressure? Could I survive the scrutiny without cracking? Then came the moment that shattered any remaining calm. A phone rang. Mine. Loud, sharp, unmistakable. I fumbled in my dress, wobbling slightly in heels, as Vanessa shot me a sharp look. I answered, heart hammering. The voice on the other end was low, teasing, and familiar. "Naomi. How's my little doll doing? Ready for the next stage?" My blood ran cold. Naomi. She knew about the bet. She knew about the potion, or at least, the transformation. Panic surged through me. Would Vanessa find out I had been in contact? Would she suspect anything? Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Who is it?" she asked. I stammered, my delicate voice betraying me. I don't know." Her smirk returned. "Interesting," she said softly. "Seems like your little experiment has attracted attention." My body trembled. I realized I was completely exposed, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. Every secret, every thrill, every forbidden desire teetered on the edge of discovery. The bet had turned into a high-stakes game of survival, identity, and desire. Then, another shock. One of the guests, my own friend, stepped closer, studying me intently. "Are you Ryan?" they asked quietly. I froze. My mouth opened, but no sound came. My reflection in the mirror across the room seemed to mock me. Fragile, doll-like, impossible to recognize. The heels pressed painfully against my feet, my hands trembled, my heartbeat thundered. Vanessa stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder, her eyes glinting with triumph. "Confidence," she whispered again. "Own it." I forced a trembling smile, letting the persona I had spent days perfecting take over. "Yes. I'm experimenting," I said softly, voice delicate, controlled. The words hung in the air like a fragile promise. The tension was unbearable. Every second felt stretched, every glance a potential exposure. But somehow, I survived. The guests laughed, Vanessa praised my composure quietly, and I realized, with a mix of relief and thrill, that I had passed the ultimate test, at least for now. But the danger wasn't over. Naomi's call, the curious guest, Vanessa's sharp gaze, they were reminders that this was just the beginning. The bet had changed me in ways I couldn't undo. And somewhere, deep inside, I realized. I was addicted to the thrill, the fear, the power, and the vulnerability. As the night ended, I collapsed in my room, trembling, exhausted, yet exhilarated. I touched my reflection in the mirror one last time. The doll-like figure staring back at me wasn't entirely Ryan anymore. And I wasn't sure I wanted to go back. The bet, the transformation, the thrill, it had claimed a piece of me. And I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same again. The night had ended, or so I thought. My heart still raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins like wildfire. I collapsed on my bed, heels kicked off, dress slightly wrinkled, wig askew. My reflection in the mirror was almost unrecognizable. Delicate, fragile, doll-like. A perfect image of what Vanessa had created. I ran trembling hands over my face, my voice still lingering in that soft, controlled tone Vanessa had taught me. I wanted to shake it off, to return to Ryan, the version of me that existed before the bet, but I realized with a shiver, he wasn't entirely there anymore. Not yet. And then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed on the screen. "You did well tonight. But are you ready for the real test?" My chest tightened. Someone else knew. Someone else was watching. Someone else wanted to see how far I could go. Before I could process, Vanessa appeared at my doorway, perfectly poised as always. Her eyes glimmered with triumph, and something else. Something I couldn't quite place. "Impressive," she said softly. "You survived the evening. But don't get comfortable. The bet isn't over. It's never really over." My hands shook as I tried to ask what she meant, but she held up a finger. "Patience. All in good time. But tonight, you learned something. You're more capable than you thought. More adaptable." I wanted to argue, to complain, to demand answers. But the truth was terrifying. She was right. A part of me had enjoyed it. A part of me was already addicted to the thrill, the fear, the secret power of being someone else. And the idea of stepping out of that doll-like persona made me shiver with longing I didn't fully understand. Just then, another knock at the door made me jump. It was louder this time, insistent. I froze, heels still in my hands, dress slipping slightly from the chaos of the evening. Vanessa's smirk returned. "Seems you have visitors, or maybe your next challenge." I stared at the door, unsure if I should run, hide, or face it. My pulse thundered. The bet, the transformation, the thrill, and the fear, they all collided in a storm inside me. I realized the game had only just begun. And in that instant, I understood something chilling. This wasn't just a bet. It was a test of identity, control, and desire. And whoever was waiting outside the door was going to push me even further. I took a shaky breath, standing in the mirror's reflection one last time. The doll-like version of me looked back, fragile and perfect, innocent and exposed. I didn't know if I could survive what was coming. The doorknob began to turn. And then, what would you do if you were in Ryan's position? Would you step forward and face the challenge, hide and escape, or embrace the transformation completely? Comment below your predictions, because next time, the stakes are higher, the bet is deadlier, and the thrill is just beginning.